Hey, everybody, we're back again for our wild card films of the 2010s. Wild card we determine as any film across the board in any genre. Some that we wanted to squeeze in earlier in other categories, but just ran out of space. But this gives us an option to put him in the wild card category. So we've got Brian, AYBL Main. Check his channel out. Please sub him up. Doc is here, my two regular movie partners, and myself. And we're going to try and give you some good recommendations for 2010 wild cards. So, Brian, hit us up. What do you got? Top five.
All right. So, basically, over the last several videos, we've covered most of these movies. So, I'm going to be able to buzz right through these for you guys a little bit. So, hey, so at number 5, I've got probably the most accessible porn that you can get on the Fox network. That would be Wolf of Wall Street.
Love it.
It's got everything that you would not been able to show on network TV 20 years ago.
Totally.
Simply the credits at the beginning and then the credits at the end. It would have been the quickest movie ever. It's a great movie, though. I mean, the cast is great. I mean, Leo, Jonah, John Berthal. I thought
Margot.
Oh man, Margot Robbie. I'm telling you, now you've got that second movie that is probably the most paused movie ever. in any type of movie. There's several moments in this movie.
Oh my goodness.
But it's a great movie and it's fun to watch. I mean, I actually, the first time I watched it was with my son. He's like 16 years old. I'm like, oh my God. But it is what it is. It's a movie. Yeah. So number 4 for me, this is me being that little artsy kind of guy that I am, but I actually really like this movie. I don't know if you guys liked it. It did win Best Picture. Birdman. It's got Michael Keaton in it. It's got Ed Norton in it. Again, it's a movie that was shot all in one take.
Yeah.
There's constant moving around and shifting of the cameras, going around objects and everything like that. Yep. I don't know. There was something about the movie where it was just a little bit of a fantasy twitch to it that I kind of latched onto and I really liked about it. I mean, it's not one of those movies, though, where if I sit down and I just want to have a beer and chill out, I'm not going to throw on Birdman. But if I feel like being a little bit analytical, you know, and working my brain a little bit, I'm going to throw the movie on and kind of try to break it down a little bit more. You know, I'm not a huge fan of Ed Norton because of his off-screen personality. I guess he's not very well liked, you know, by other actors because of his methods more than anything else. So, but I did like him a lot in this movie, so I got to give props there. Number 3 for me, Rich has already mentioned. What a depressing movie for me when I watched it. Michelle Williams just knocked it out of the ballpark. Manchester by the Sea. That heartbreaking flashback scene with his children and the fire and oh my God,
tough to take.
I don't know how I could ever go back and watch a film like that, being a father myself. So it's heartbreaking. Rich has already said everything about it that I'd want to say, but I definitely, if you haven't seen the movie, I will recommend it if you need your heartstrings pulled a little bit.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is the remake of True Grit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I actually thought the Coen brothers did a really good job with this. I mean, and everybody that they cast for it, Bridges and the Stanfield kid and Matt Damon, I thought they all did a really good job with it. And
they did.
Very good.
Yeah, it did. It had the same. They do a really good job of coloring the film to make it feel like you're in that period of time.
Yeah,
it's very dirty and dusty and subdued colors. It's not a whole lot of bright, crazy stuff like a normal society would have. So they did a really good job with that. I'm a big fan of True Grit and Rooster Cogburn, the originals.
Me
so
too.
I was going to be very skeptical going into this movie, but I was okay with it. Afterwards, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm okay. They did a good job. So, but
you know what, Brian, that movie there, just so you know, The King's Speech beat that movie as Best Picture, man.
Oh my God. That's not even right. It's not even right.
Just telling you, man.
Terrible.
But number 1 for me, you guys have already mentioned it. It's a great movie. It's kind of a alternate universe type of movie, which is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Quentin Tarantino's movie. It's great cast. I really liked all the weird, quirky takes about rewriting history in some fashion. And then you have, like, I think Sean Doc had said a couple times, when you have an actor who's also playing an actor in a film, so you got that Shakespearean thing where it's a play within a play type of thing. You don't realize how hard that is for an actor to do, to play a character and then to play a character that's doing something inside the movie itself. That's really an interesting thing to do, and it's hard to do. So I give big props to Leonardo DiCaprio for that. He did a really good job. And that Bruce Lee scene, guys,
that's my favorite.
That is damn near the funniest thing I've ever seen. Ever. When he picks up Bruce Lee and throws him into that car, big old dent. You see a big old dent in the side of that car. I'm going, oh my God, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That was classic.
I love it.
Great, and the whole farm with the Manson family and everything. The spin at Polanski's house at the end of the film with the flamethrower and stuff. Great stuff. You got to take it for what it is. It's a fantasy film in a lot of ways.
It is
alternate universe. Take it for what it is, and don't try to read anything into it. So
very good. I'm glad that showed up on your list.
Yeah.
I just want to say something about True Grit. First of all, I like the original, but they did a really, really good job, the Coen brothers, in bringing that back, and it worked perfectly well. Also, Birdman, not my favorite movie, but I can see what you mean by the artsy side of you. I need to rewatch that because I wasn't in the right frame of mind the first time around. I think I would like it the second time around. I'm a big Ed Norton fan, and Emma Stone is in it, Michael Keaton. It's got a nice cast. I should like it more than I do, and I'm going to have to look at that again. Doc, what do you have in your top 5?
I think I've got one the same. I think, Brian, one the same, but be the third time we've heard this one recently anyway, but I won't go there yet. So I'll just start off with my number 5. So we'll try to spread it around here a little, I think. I don't know how this is going to work. My number 5 is Overlord. Now, I don't know if you've seen this movie or not.
Is that the remake?
No, this is Overlord.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Overlord is, it's an action horror flick, man. I don't know.
I've seen it, yeah.
With Kurt Russell's kid here, Wyatt Russell.
Okay.
Or the new Captain America, as some of you out there might know from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show.
Right.
But I mean, it starts off literally almost as a war movie, jumping out of the planes and going in, attacking Germany and everything else until they get this one spot in Germany where it's the Germans, I think, are under the realization here that this small group is coming in and attacking them, but they still are looking at ways to win the war. And the ways that they're looking at winning the war is creating zombie Nazi soldiers to go out and fight. So I mean, it is totally over the top. It is totally insane. Kind of like a cult classic neighborhood I could see this flowing into over time, but I think it's a pretty fun movie for what it is, and definitely a wild card movie for me, man. I think I enjoy the movie. I don't know what to say. So Overlord is my number 5. My number 4, this is another one here. I don't know how these are going to turn out here. So, but I like this movie, and it is A Star Is Born. So Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga are making this remake again here with Sam Elliott. And do I recognize the first one? I saw the first one years ago, so I couldn't even tell you. That's Barbara Streisand, I think, and maybe Chris Christopherson or something, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's really well shown, this movie. This movie is, Bradley Cooper directed this movie. It's pretty neat visually. Saw it on the big screen, actually, and I enjoyed it when I saw it. And I just think it's, how she becomes a star and everything else. The big song in the movie, for the Oscars and stuff like that is everything else. But it's really well done. He had to learn how to play guitar and stuff like that. I think it's definitely worth a watch for a different kind of movie is probably what I would say. So that'd be my number 4. My number 3, and I didn't think this would be in my wheelhouse either here, but I don't know why it is, but I'm going to say it anyway. So here it is. It's Judy.
Ooh. Doc, is
Don't
that
ask me
you?
what
Is that you, Doc?
I tell you, it's like, why the hell did Renee Zellweger show up on my list here in a movie, for crying out loud? But I don't know. I just kind of, I don't know. There's always been some sort of like maybe some sort of fascination with me just growing up, my age and everything else,
Yeah.
even with Judy Garland. And Judy Garland. So, and maybe in one sense, you know, she was one of the first ones I saw on screen, was Wizard of Oz and everything else. But such a tragic story and such a sad ending to her life, you know, at a young age, really.
Yeah.
And this movie just shows you the last year and a half of her. Renee Zellweger is quite good in this movie, man. And it's, you know, from you're actually at the top of her peak kind of thing, and now you're just seeing her go flowing out at the wrong end. And it's and Judy's kind of like it's a depressingly sad kind of movie, but it's really well acted, really well shown, and I just think it's just a story of somebody that we know in Hollywood that's actually done it at a true level. And I think performing somebody who's a real character outside of everything else is a little harder sometimes for actors or actresses as well. So I'm trying to give it props where props are due, I think. So yeah, it's me, Rich. It's still me, buddy. So
right,
I'll show you that. I'll prove that
I
to you right
don't
now.
believe
You
it.
ready? Number 2 is Django Unchained, man. Okay, there you go. I'm back. There
He's
you
back.
go. You can skip the last minute and a half if you want and start near. So, but Django Unchained, obviously. You know, I can tell you, man, I love Christopher Waltz in this. I love Jamie Foxx is great in this. DiCaprio. Almost wish DiCaprio was in it more. As much as he's a complete asshole in this movie, I wish he was in it more. Django Unchained. And I mean, if I have one beef with the movie, I don't know, it's maybe just a tad too long, but if I have one beef with the movie itself, is actually Quentin showing up in this movie. I didn't like him showing up at the end, you know, as going back and then as one of the guys that, you know, got Jamie Foxx out and stuff like that.
Right.
And that would be my one little nitpick, but I mean, that's a small little nitpick for pretty much a great Quentin Tarantino flick, you know, if you want the truth. So I love Django Unchained, man. That's one of the better ones, I think, from Quentin, up there with Once Upon a Time. I think he had a couple good ones in this decade. I will not talk about The Hateful Eight, but that's different.
Things work really well because Tarantino's not afraid to use modern songs in period movies.
Yep.
Right.
And it worked in that movie. I think he had a John Legend song playing at that particular scene.
Oh man, I see.
Where they break out Django,
that, yeah.
and I'm like, wow. I said that's a contemporary song, and you put it in there, and you're thinking, well, how does this work? But it does. He's got the ear. He's got an ear for it. He's got an ear for it.
He's not afraid to take chances, quite obviously, right? So, Django Unchained for a wild card, I think, is a pretty solid number 2 for the last decade. But my number 1 wild card is one that we've all heard a lot recently here, and that's Manchester by the Sea.
There you go. We all had it somewhere.
We all had it somewhere. Yeah.
We did.
It's
so I don't know if I
strong
need to touch on it too much. It's just a powerful movie. I do like the performances in this movie. Like I said, maybe even off screen there, Rich, I mentioned to you, I wish Michelle was in it a little bit more. I'd probably throw a little bit more accolades towards her. But when she does have her screen time, only got like 2 or 3 scenes in the movie, and it's really around Casey Affleck in this. And you know, as much as he sounds like the same character as he does with Gone Baby Gone and stuff like that, it fits the bill in this one. I think
it does.
It's him. So it's definitely my wild card pick of the last decade. I think outside of everything you guys have touched on, it's my number 1 as well.
Very nice. I actually do like A Star Is Born to a degree. I thought both the leads were excellent, and Sam Elliott was fantastic in that movie too. I'm not a big fan of Judy, but I'm not a big fan of Renee Zellweger, so I held that against her. But such is life. I'm probably going to have a couple of questionable.
I did not love her
here
in Chicago either, so you know, hey.
No,
but,
I liked her in Cold Mountain better than I've seen her in some other stuff. You know, that's just a nitpick. I don't think she's I don't like those Bridget Jones movies. They don't do anything for me. But
she didn't have me below either.
What? No. Well, actually, she's not bad in Jerry Maguire. She's not bad in that. All right, I'm going to go with I have 4 ones that we have not talked about at all yet.
Fantastic.
And one that you guys both had, so it'll be a trifecta of sorts, and of course different categories. I had to put my glasses on because I'm getting eye strain. Number 5, Green Book, directed by Peter Farrelly of the Farrelly brothers. This is it has some comic undertones in it, but it's really a drama. It takes place in the Deep South, 1962. It's inspired by a true story. You got this African-American classical pianist and jazz guy, Don Shirley, who's being escorted around to his different concerts by the Italian-American bouncer, Tony the Lip, played by Viggo Mortensen. Mahershala Ali, by the way, plays Don Shirley. So they make an interesting team of driver and bodyguard, and they get into some of these Jim Crow events and hotels, and you can't use this bathroom and you can't drink this water. Real disturbing stuff that actually went on in the late 50s, early 60s, up until that time. Tough to take, but Viggo adds a lot of pizzazz to his role, and Ali, Mahershala Ali, is one heck of an actor. He pulls this off, coming off some of his other roles in Moonlight and things like that. So I would give that a recommendation. I really like the movie enough to make it my number 5 wild card. My number 4 is Silver Linings Playbook, directed by David O. Russell. I just watched this a few nights ago to make sure I wanted to put it on the list. Again, this is mental illness, bipolar guy released from a hospital. He moves back in with his parents. Robert De Niro's his father, who's this diehard Eagles fan. It's shot in the Philly suburbs. They go to Eagle games, and he's superstitious and this and that. You got to wear this, you got to do that. He's determined to reconcile with his ex-wife. Evidently, he walked in on his wife having sex in the shower. This is Bradley Cooper, by the way. Walked in on his wife having sex in the shower with someone. They broke up. He ends up being put away. He's bipolar. It gets violent at times. There's a certain song, My Sharia More, that's his trigger. When he hears that song, he goes back to the day when his wife cheated on him, and he goes insane to a degree. Eventually, he meets Jennifer Lawrence. They're jogging around the neighborhood. She's got her own issues. Her husband died at a young age, and she will present a letter to the ex-wife if he dances in a contest with her. So there's a lot of little plot elements here, but the main interest of the movie is the Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence love story, or how it comes to be, and it worked for me. Two mentally ill people finding some common ground and realizing that they have more in common than they think. Number 3 is The Descendants, starring George Clooney. I really like this movie. It's directed by Alexander Payne. George Clooney over in Hawaii. He's raising his young 2 daughters. His wife's on life support. She had a skiing accident, and she's pretty much brain dead, laying there in the hospital bed. He finds out through neighbors and through his daughter that she was cheating on him. So he hunts down the guy, this real estate tycoon or whatever, this guy that was having adulterous relations with his wife, and there's a confrontation there. It's a family drama. He's the sole trustee of the 25,000 acres of sacred land in Hawaii. He has to make a decision whether to sell and cut in some of his relatives. They're all badgering him on that. Or does he want to remain, the land to be a holy place? He has a confrontation with his wife in the hospital bed, where he's cursing her and screaming at her and damning her for what she did to him. And it works. I think Clooney shows a good acting range in this movie. His oldest daughter is played by Shailene Woodley. Solid. She was good in that. Not like the movie Brian talked about. What was that book, Brian, where she was the lead in? Shailene Woodley, the one you detested. Something about, what was your most overrated movie?
My most overrated movie?
The Artist, wasn't it?
No, it was Fault in Our Stars.
Fault in No Stars. Shailene Woodley plays the lead in that, but she's Clooney's daughter here. Very good in it. My number 2 is one that we've rehashed. We all love it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, directed by Quentin Tarantino. That's my number 2 wild card. We've gone back and forth. You're right about Leo DiCaprio, and an actor within the film reading his dialogue, getting psyched up to play the role, questioning his own motives. He breaks down what it's like to be an actor and getting the confidence to go out there and do the role. Brad Pitt has all the charisma in here as this stunt man. Gets involved with Bruce Lee, gets involved with the Manson gang, and goes out there and tries to find Bruce Dern, who used to work with in the old days. And all the girls are very protective of him, the Manson girls, and you don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, there's like 30 of them guarding him, and
some pretty tense scenes. Pretty tense
real
scenes.
intense. And then there's a couple of guys that come to the rescue. One of them is later involved in the Manson killings themselves. I forget his name. But I like that whole Manson murder lurking around, Sharon Tate living next door, renting a house with Polanski, right where DiCaprio and Pitt are.
Yeah, right there, right?
The soundtrack's phenomenal, all the late 60s, the hippie, the stuff they're wearing, Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate. It's got it all. Yeah. Kurt Russell as this guy who hires Brad Pitt, knowing that he's a loose cannon and it doesn't take long for him to get in trouble. Al Pacino is an agent who's trying to find work for Leo. Yeah, sends him over to Europe to get roles over there, and he's doing the FBI, and he's doing all this sitcoms and stuff, or not sitcoms, but detectives and westerns and stuff.
TV shows.
Yeah, my two favorite scenes are the Spawn Ranch, where the girls are with Bruce Lee, or with Bruce Dern, and the Bruce Lee fight on the soundstage there. It's priceless. But my number one wild card is Boyhood, directed by Richard Linklater.
Yep.
I love this movie. I like the premise of it. It's shot over a 12-year period.
12 years.
The same actor. This kid, they film segments when he's 6 all the way through he's 18, and it shows him growing up. It's not like a movie where they get an extra and shoot the background scenes. This is the same kid, and they evidently shot for 3 weeks every year for 12 years between 2001 and 2013. And in that time, you see the growth, the divorce come, different stages of development. You watch the kid maybe have his first love interest, or take a toke on some pot, or all the different changes. Obama, there's a campaigning for Obama to become president. It's all around that time. Patricia Arquette and Ethan Hawke are the parents. Very good, both of them, both nominated. And Richard Linklater's daughter, Lorelai, plays the kid's sister. So I really thought that was a great movie, to be able to do that over 12 years and come out with a product that was not only watchable, but excellent. So I can't.
Good choice.
Boyhood is one that I will watch for years to come, I think. And I like Linklater as a director. He takes another guy that takes chances. He did those Sunset movies, Before Sunset and Before Midnight, and the 3 different stages of the relationship with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. Those are good movies too. And solid director. Writes his own stuff. Films mostly in Texas, where he's from. Good stuff.
Very good.
So that'll wrap up our wild cards. We have one more segment to go, and that will be the actor and actress. We're going to take a look at the best performances of the 2010s overall, and we'll be back with that. For Brian and Doc, I'm Rich. We'll see you next time out. Take care. Bye.